When I first moved into the townhouse that I had purchased, my very own townhouse in Reston, I was excited to meet my new neighbors. Not only was my townhouse part of the Reston community, it was part of the Colonial Oaks Homeowners Association. So it was like a community within a community, like twice the neighborliness. And I was so excited about that for about 2 days. And then I met my next door neighbor, the woman I shared a wall with. She cornered me as I walked outside my townhouse. And yes, it is possible to corner someone outside. And she stopped me and she said, and I have to say, she looked like B. Arthur and she had a South Carolina accent. I can't do real accents, so I'm just gonna do my own idea of an accent. She said, I just want you to know I can hear everything you do in your master bathroom. Thank you. I couldn't understand what I was supposed to do with this information. Was I supposed to poop more quietly? I couldn't help feeling that her revelation to me was almost like her way of letting me know she was listening to everything I did. It felt a little bit like she was spying on me, and that feeling got worse as I lived there longer. A few weeks later, she cornered me once again on a Sunday morning, and she said, it looked like you got in rather late last night. You do that a lot? Stay out late? And again, I'm like, okay, so not only are you listening to me, you're also watching me and apparently judging me. It wasn't very neighborly, in my opinion. But she was not the worst of my neighbors. No, the worst of my neighbors was Christopher Robin. Yes, and that is his real name. He lived 2 doors down from me, and he took his job as treasurer of the Homeowners Association very seriously, but not as seriously as he took his self-appointed unofficial position as head of the community policia. He reveled in spying on all of us and reporting on all of us. I got, as part of our Homeowners Association bonus, an almost weekly report from Christopher Robin on the transgressions of my neighbors. What? Yes, I'm serious. He would send out these very passive-aggressive emails to like all 40 townhouse owners, right? All of us adults, presumably, except for maybe him. And the emails, he would not actually confront anyone directly, but he'd let it be known that he knew who you were. So he'd send an email like, I saw you put the trash out before 7 p.m. last night. Reminder, trash does not go out until after 7 p.m. And then he'd send photographs and videos as attachments sometime, like providing the evidence, right? So there was another email where he's like, this car was seen parked in the visitor parking spot for over 24 hours. Reminder, when visitors stay past 24 hours, their cars get towed. And you could see the photograph very clear. It was very blatant, his evidence that he provided. But my favorite of these emails was the one he sent, 2 adults, mind you, with an attached photo of dog poop. And the email said, come and get your dog's poop off the common ground, or I will report you. To who, I don't know. But in case any of us were wondering whose dog's poop it was, he included a measuring tape next to the poop. Yes, so you could identify the dog by the scale of its poop. As amusing as Christopher Robin was, I did not enjoy living under his ever watchful eye. And so it was a great relief when the guy I was dating, this guy Bart, asked me to move in with him. Now, he did not live in Colonial Oaks, nor even in Reston. He lived in Fairfax. So I jumped at the chance to move into his house. That's not the only reason I moved in with him. He's also really cute, so I have my priorities straight. And once I moved out, I was fully prepared to sell my townhouse, but the market had tanked, and I would have lost a lot of money, so I decided to rent it out instead. And I did not do my due diligence. I've never done this kind of thing before. So when Kim came to me and she said she didn't have the best credit score, but she was a single mom and she really wanted my townhouse, I was like, okay, yeah, you can have it. And she moved in. Now, a couple days after Kim moved in, she got on the wrong side of Christopher Robin.
Oh.
Yeah, it snowed in Reston, and Kim refused to, or just never got around to shoveling her parking spot. And so she, of course, used one of those forbidden visitor spots for over 24 hours, and the emails started. Now I was no longer receiving the emails about all of the transgressions of my former neighbors. I was receiving emails about Kim, my tenant. He was saying that she was a foul-mouthed woman and that she wasn't following the rules, and she was saying that he was harassing her, and frankly, I took her side. I knew what a jerk he could be. And of course, he had her car towed, which really did not get them off on the right relationship. But I have to say, Kim turned out to be a horrible tenant, not only for my neighbors, who apparently she got in lots of fights with, but for me as well. She started bouncing rent check after rent check after rent check. And I was not only paying the mortgage on my townhouse and now bills in the new house, but that guy Bart and I had gotten engaged, and we were getting married, and we were paying for the wedding ourselves. And so I was a little bit stressed out having to deal with this woman. And in addition to having to deal with her, I continued to get regular reports on her from Christopher Robin. Things got worse and worse, and eventually Kim stopped paying rent altogether. Now, if you haven't been through an eviction process before, let me tell you, it takes a really long time. I hired a lawyer to deal with it, this guy, Gene, and he started the process. You send a letter, and then you wait 30 days, and you send another letter, and then you wait 30 days, and the whole time she's living in my place for free, and I'm hearing about the late-night visitors she has. Yes, there's moral judgment there. And I'm hearing about the new car she got, and there's photographic evidence provided. And I'm hearing about all the cursing and cussing and fighting she's doing with all the neighbors. And then finally, the date of the eviction hearing arrived. Jean and I showed up at the courthouse right over there and found out that Kim had written ahead and said that she wouldn't make it that day and she needed to reschedule, which they did for her. So we had to wait another month. She'd been living in my townhouse for 4 months without paying rent, and now she got another month free. But the reports from Christopher Robin got worse. He sent me a video a couple weeks later. It's shot kind of cops style with him walking up on the perps, handheld. And he's narrating it. He's like, I'm walking up to Jessica Piscatelli's townhouse. And he walks up to the back porch, and there's Kim's son, he's about 10 years old, and his friend. And there is my wooden porch and all these dead, dry leaves and the debris of just 20 or so firecrackers. They were setting off fireworks off the back porch. And Christopher Robin goes up to them and says, what do you think you're doing? And the one kid says, setting off fireworks? He says, oh, you think that's a good idea? And the kid goes, yeah. And then he says, who told you could do that? And the kid says, my mom. And then the kid says, why are you videotaping me? And Christopher Robin says, why am I videotaping you? Because I'm what they call the treasurer. I'm the guy guy who makes sure people follow the rules. And I have to be honest, I never read the Colonial Oaks Homeowners Association board rules, but I am pretty sure that is not in the job description. So he's standing there, and right then, Kim comes out on the back porch, and she starts yelling at him and telling him to stop harassing her kids, and he does not do well with confrontation. So he just kind of starts backing up, filming the whole time, and he's like backing away from her. And my favorite part is as he's walking down the lane, she yells after him, "You fat-ass nosy effer!" Except she didn't say effer. And he doesn't do anything about it, except send me the video. Right? And now I kind of, I realize I've heard his exclamation. He really believes he's doing me a favor by reporting on her, but all this has done is freak me out. Because this woman is living in my townhouse and she knows she's getting evicted, so she can do whatever the heck she wants, right? So finally, the day of the actual eviction hearing arrives, and Jean and I show up at the courthouse again, and our case gets called, and we walk up to the podium, and I have my day in court. And this is how that goes. The judge takes the file from the bailiff, and he goes, 2 months rent, and then he starts to hand it back, and Jean goes, "Your Honor, what about legal fees?" And the judge goes, $200. Which I gotta say is not, you guys have obviously hired a lawyer before. That does not cover his legal fees, nor does the 2 months cover the 5 months rent that she owes me at this point. And as I'm complaining to Jean, as we're walking out of the courthouse, he says, "Don't worry about it, you're never gonna see any of that money anyway." Which turns out to be true. So then, I try to look on the bright side, and I'm like, well, I've got the eviction paperwork in hand. This is over. I am going to my house, I'm throwing her stuff out, I'm changing the locks, but no, you can't do that. You have to wait for the county to schedule it, and then the police have to show up. It's this whole process, right? So I'm like waiting, and finally Jean calls me and says, "Okay, we have the date." And remember how I was getting married? Yeah, it's for 2 days after my wedding, which would have been fine except for the honeymoon in Europe. So I'm like, I have to let this woman stay in my house for 2 more weeks? This sucks. But Jean tells me that no, I can send a proxy. So I call my friends Mary and David who live in Reston, and I say, please, can you be there on the day of the eviction? And Mary says, yes, we'll be there. And then I'm smart, right? So I think about Christopher Robin, and I send him an email, and I say, I'm getting married, Kim is getting evicted, Mary and David have my keys, I'm leaving town. And he says, that's great, but he continues to send me emails, even on my wedding day, letting me know that Kim's been sneaking around late at night like a rat in the night. Like she's moving her stuff out and she's double parked in the fire lane, and he really wants to tow her. And he tells me I can break in and throw out all her stuff anytime. He should know because he's the treasurer. And I'm like, but you're not a lawyer, so stop telling me what to do. So anyway, I get married, I put Reston behind me, I go off to Europe on my honeymoon, and while I'm gone, the eviction happens. I get back, I never get a penny from Kim, but the house is mine again. Guess what though? Market still sucks. So I rent it out again to a very nice couple with a very nice son and a great credit report. They were there for 5 years, and I never got a single email from Christopher Robin about them. And they liked the neighborhood and the townhouse and even Christopher Robin so much that they bought it from me. So I am officially no longer a Restonian. I am making my new life here in Fairfax. And the best part about my new neighbors and my new neighborhood is that not a one of them cares about my movements. Bowel or otherwise.